Welcome to Difference Talks, the show that focuses on one word, differentiation, and how it is more important today than ever to discover what makes your brand unique and celebrate it with the most important people, your team.
In each episode, we meet people who've had the courage to stand up and stand out, sometimes against great odds. In a world of copies, conformity, and commodities, uniqueness speaks volumes. Difference Talks.
Welcome, everybody, to Difference Talks. I am Barry LeBove. I am founder and co-owner of LeBove Marketing, Communications, and Training, and I am the author of The Power of Differentiation. So we always talk to really brilliant, unique, interesting people, and we have Ranaan Meyer, who's won a couple of Grammys, an Emmy, a gold record, no big deal, right? And he's a brilliant musician. And he's going to talk to us today, not just on music, not just on jamming, but also on an incredibly inspiring project that he's worked on for almost 20 years. So it's going to be fascinating. Ranaan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and to talk with you about all of these wonderful topics.
Well, I'd like you to share, you're a Philadelphia kid. You were in the Philadelphia Orchestra, et cetera. Tell us your background and how you got here today with a band known as Time for Three, which I've listened to. I've gone to a number of your concerts. They're bizarre. And by the way, they are bizarre because there's bluegrass, hip hop, classical, rock, jazz. I'm sure there are other genres I'm missing here that Ranaan and his two other fellow string players perform. And then once in a while, they pull out and they're singing songs, and one of them has keyboards. It's an amazing experience. So how'd you get from Philly to doing this?
Yeah, so I fell in love with music through musical theater when I was very little. And then Mother Nature played that cruel joke that she does on a lot of boys when they're graduating into some next phase of their life at around 12 through 14 years old. And my voice was stripped from me. And I didn't have a singing teacher at the time that was able to nuance that into this next chapter. So because of my frustration with not being able to hit certain notes, I then found my way quickly to an instrument, the double bass. The double bass, a lot of people just know that as an upright string instrument that's a little bigger than cello. 4 years after playing the instrument, I fell in love with the language of jazz. And I really felt like I had a passion in life. And I started practicing on my own rather than the parents forcing me to. And I wanted to become a great jazz bass player. That's really what I wanted to do and what I aspired to be. But then I fell in love with classical music, two genres, right? And when I went to New York to study music at Manhattan School of Music, I started to get gigs wherever they would take me. And I found myself doing rock, futuristic genres, anything that was progressive, and learning as I went, trial by error. Then I was fortunate enough a few years into that to get into the Curtis Institute of Music in Philadelphia, which for those of you listening who don't know about that college, it's a music conservatory that at the time was in a mansion in Philadelphia that had 165 full scholarship students. And most of these players were playing circles around me. They had been doing this since the time they could walk, playing the piano, playing the violin. And I was this Philadelphia underdog mentality. And I loved it. I got into the school when I was 21, and I remember meeting a pianist who was 12, who dressed in a three-piece suit with a bow tie. It's like the Hogwarts of classical music. He was getting a biochem major at Penn while, taking piano at Curtis. And just come on. You can easily feel defeated in that environment. But I wasn't. I was just grateful to be there and excited to learn from anyone and everyone. Very much so a positive attitude because, Curtis, growing up in the Philadelphia area, when my parents would take me to those performances, when they would tell me about the school, and I would hear about other musicians that would just die to get into the place, it just seemed like the Holy Grail. It was because of an error, actually, because of a misjudgment that the band began, which was we were jamming after a 3-hour orchestra rehearsal, an intense orchestra rehearsal, and you were supposed to leave the building at 11 p.m. However, we would break the rules and stay till 2. And as the security guard would make their rounds, we would eventually get called into the dean's office because of breaking the rules. And when we got called in, they were asking us what we were up to. And when they found out it was just as simple as making some original music, we actually got our first gig and got hired out. And that's how my life playing all sorts of different genres in a band with 2 violins and bass was born.
Now, I'm going to interject because so much of what you said is interesting from a business perspective. In my book, I dedicate an entire chapter to jamming. You just said jam. So for all of us out there, a jam is where musicians are playing off each other and they're creating something that has not existed. And one of the most important things is you have to listen, right? In jamming, that's the most important part because otherwise it's just noise. It's a bunch of people just hacking away at instruments, making a racket, right? So here's what's also interesting when it comes to creativity. And I'm telling you, it's in music, it's in theater, it's in business, and that is accidents. And sometimes something happens that you don't plan on. In music, sometimes that's called a brand new song. There's something you did. There's some place on the frets that your fingers went to, or if it's on a keyboard, your fingers go somewhere. You go, whoa, what is that? And I'm sure, Ranaan, you've experienced that. But I'll throw a curve at you. Tell us about how a thunderstorm created this unique approach to music. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. And to just rip off of what you're saying, one of my predecessors, Herbie Hancock, talks about the opportunity and the mistake. Whereas when you play a wrong chord, you can look at it as, oh, I messed up, or an opportunity to riff in a certain way and take that into a different direction. The thunderstorm that you're referring to, 2/3 of my band, Time for Three, were playing in the Philadelphia Orchestra. I was really excited because we were supposed to play Beethoven's Ninth Symphony with full choir, right? Because, you have Ode to Joy. And so you had the full choir there and you had the full orchestra. It's about 150 musicians all on stage. Naomi Yarvi, one of the best maestros of his time, is conducting. We had rehearsal that morning, and you got to understand, for a young guy playing with the Philadelphia Orchestra in the bass section, going to play Beethoven's Ninth Symphony for the first time. This is an exciting moment. And there's 5,000 people at the Mann Music Center in Philadelphia waiting for this performance. In any case, there's a thunderstorm and a power outage, and the orchestra couldn't read the music. So they called upon my friend Zach Depew and myself to come and entertain the audience. The reason that we were able to entertain the audience and we were asked is because the orchestra members were a little nervous about going up and being center stage without their music, because no one had something prepared in the classical literature to play for the audience. The thing about Zach and I is all of our music was memorized. So we just were creating it out of jam sessions previously, usually at Curtis Institute of Music when we were getting thrown out, asked to leave because we were bending the rules. And because of that, there was an opportunity to go center stage and play for these 5,000 restless fans. And we did. The president of the Mann Music Center went out there. He made an announcement. We're going to have to be really quiet. Somehow there was one emergency breaker microphone that operated and light that operated miraculously. And that's where we stood in front of the microphone and the light. And the audience, you could hear a pin drop I'll never forget the very first few notes that we played when we walked down on stage. Felt like my heart was going to just beat right through my chest. It was so exciting. And we played for 20 minutes and we got a big ovation, and then they asked us to come out for another 20 minutes. And then the next couple of days, it was raining opportunity for Time for Three. I'm getting called by press engagements. I remember a conductor who called me and said, would you like to solo with our orchestra? Which meant, be up front and play as the soloist in front of the orchestra for the audience. And I said, oh, that sounds great. And he said, assuming Time for Three has repertoire that's orchestrated. And I said, of course we do, which was a big fat lie. We had no repertoire.
I could tell that was a lie, but keep going. I've been there too. Oh yeah, we can do that.
And I scrambled as soon as I got off the phone to figure out how to find a supporter who supported, paying the freight for his charts. And we got an incredible orchestrator to birth an orchestra career. And then I think we played with 100 different orchestras with that repertoire before we had new repertoire.
When you're jamming, you're there with the two other guys. Let's say it's Time for Three. And you hear somebody, he makes a mistake. I mean, you hear mistakes. You'll make a mistake. All right. As you're in front of the audience of hundreds to thousands of people, and one of the guys making a little bit of a mistake and he's going off on it, what is going on in your mind as that is happening? Because you've got to keep playing. Somebody went off, kilter a little bit. They're going to come back in. How do you keep it together? Do you hide the mistake from the audience so that nobody even realizes it? Do you smile and acknowledge it with the guy? What is the way that you respond to that entire situation? Because again, I connected to business. You're not supposed to make mistakes in business. You get your hand slapped. In music, it's a different story, but still sometimes these things happen. So what is it like? What's it like inside your head and the head of the other two guys?
If you asked me 20 years ago, what do you do in that situation when one of your bandmates makes a mistake? It'd be a very different answer. 20 years ago, it'd be, I feel like I'm going to make a mistake now. I feel like we're going to all roll over and burst open at the seams. And everything's just this whole show is ruined, Whereas now my mindset is very comfortable in the potential of those opportunities. Like, for instance, when one of my bandmates makes a mistake, I have an opportunity to be heroic. I can back them up with love and support. And I can help convert their mistake into something that is special. Because, I'm a believer up there in front of people where the audience wants to see you walk the tightrope. Otherwise, why would they want to come to a live show? I want everything to just go out without a hitch. It won't be exciting. So those imperfections are beautiful opportunities. When I make a so-called mistake, it's an opportunity to embrace the fact that I can keep on going, living in the moment, but also living in what's to come. The past is the past on stage. So it's about where we're heading, and converting something that doesn't go exactly as planned. To me, it's so much more of a reward than something goes exactly as planned. There's also like these words in music that we use. Like, for instance, there's the written page, which are the notes of the words, the plan, right? And then there's interpretation, where you take what's written and you do something with it in your own special way. Then there's spontaneity, which is what happens in real time or on the recording in real time, and the way that you're able to sort of like, make something happen because of your fundamentals. And then there's improvisation, which is making something up based on some sort of a structure, like chord changes, a melody, rhythm, a groove. And then there's, pandemonium, which is like free music, free music that really is like pandemonium, where you're just kind of like throwing paint at the wall. It's kind of like a Jackson Pollock, if you will. So everything in between that, I believe there's an apex. And out of those 5 categories, the apex is spontaneity, because spontaneity comes from everything that is like traditional to everything that is radical. And it's a meet in the middle of something that I feel like if we take Yo-Yo Ma or John Mayer or Herbie Hancock or whoever it may be, there's this thing that meets the middle that somehow creates a feeling of humanity through listening. And when I have these discussions with my friends about like the people that we admire, they usually find their way to that spontaneity apex.
Isn't it amazing how tempting it is to fall into the perfect trap, where you want everything just to be perfect? And it's a trap. It's an illusion. And what you're talking about here is you actually embrace when it's imperfect. You embrace it. You can be a hero. You can prove that you're going to power on through and keep going, because like you said, it's where you're going. It's not what just happened. I think that's amazing. We'll be right back with Ranaan Meyer.
You're listening to the Difference Talks podcast. Difference Talks is brought to you by LeBeau Marketing Communications and Training. LeBeau focuses on one word: differentiation.
In fact, we wrote the book on it, called The Power of Differentiation. Our goal is to inspire 1 million people with this message, helping brands win hearts, minds, and market share.
Discover more at LeBeau.com.
Hey, we're back, and we're with Ranaan Meyer. Now, I'd like you to share, and please do this as a personal favor, share about the Honeywell experience that you're very, very much involved with, because I find it inspiring. In fact, I'll just share one story. I went to your resonance performance in Wabash, Indiana, the Honeywell Center. And I saw, and you can go into more depth, but I just was knocked out by this. I think it had to be 24 or so young musicians up there performing. And here's what's interesting. They were performing mostly original music. So I love that, because I'm an original music rock and roll guy from way back. Okay, I like to write songs, right? So I'm watching all this, and then I learned one unbelievable thing. And you can support it and say that's right, or tell me I missed the boat. All that music was written during that week. So I'm hearing dozens of songs and arrangements that did not exist a week prior. And I'm hearing all these amazing young people perform them. So Ranaan, can you share a little bit about that, and then tell us all about what your mission is?
Yeah. Everything from Honeywell Arts Academy is really pulling from the heartstrings for me, because when I was at Curtis Institute of Music studying with my teacher, who really was more of a mentor and a coach by the name of Hal Robinson, he approached my entire existence, and it's not just mine, because it was anyone and everyone that he worked with, very Yoda-like, very guru-like, and it was all very personalized. How do I make, from his perspective, how do I help nurture this person to become who they are as a musician? And he truly believed that, and he had the wherewithal to make that into a reality. Usually in like my field, and this is just the truth, a lot of great classical music teachers, musician teachers, etc., have one or the other. They're either really good at empowering, or they're really good at teaching the fundamentals, but bridging the gap to bring that together is a superpower.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm going to interject here. I was going to music school at IU, and my music professor, the head of department, I'm going to turn right back to you, but this is funny. I had a different experience. He brought me in and he said, "Barry, I really like you. You're a really good kid. I never made it in music, and I became a professor. So I'm just trying to help you. You got to give it up. Give up your performance and creative thought." but I love you. Just give it up and be like me.
Oh
And
man.
you know what? He meant it from the heart. Now,
Uh-huh.
I walked away kind of grumbling a little bit, but he meant it from the heart because he was really projecting. But what you're describing was way beyond that. An amazing thing, because this person sounds like he literally put you on a path to where you are today.
He did. And, it was 4 years of that. And then after it was all said and done, or I should say the last lesson that I had from him, it was me asking him, what can I do for you? What can I buy you? What can I give to you? What is it? Because I'll do anything. I literally will do anything. He looked at me very simply, as a lot of incredible mentors do. And he said, just pay it forward, man. That's it. That's all I ask. Just, if you feel like you got this from me, give it to the world in the way that you can. And that's really what Honeywell Arts Academy is all about. It's just about spreading that out and paying that forward and taking the vision of this incredible human and, trying to create an exponential effect. So that comes from something that we call sharing of knowledge, which is, simple, but it's an opportunity for us all to get together and in a retreat-like fashion, really lift one another up. And we're all competitive, right? Like there's many of us that are ambitious, all these things that go into sometimes driving for divide. But at Honeywell Arts Academy, we're using these types of things to empower one another. The thing is that the musicians that get into this program are exceptional. Okay, they're at this benchmark of just this wow factor. They're all great before they even get there. But they're usually at this vulnerable point of their lives between 18 to 25 years old, where they're about to emerge. They call them emerging artists in our industry. And we get together with these emerging artists and we support each other in a way that is unique. And we take the hierarchy of the teacher trickle-down effect pyramid and we put that on the shelf for 5 days, 6 days. And we're able to spend almost every waking second together doing just that. So the music that you heard at Resonance was an example of that, where these great musicians get together and we start to give them calisthenics, exercises, extremes. We have all these sorts of different things that we do that loosen you up, get your mind free, to the point of having an objective by the fifth night. There's going to be a big performance and everybody knows that's the culmination. But there's so much that happens in between spending, we call them 48-hour days at Honeywell Arts Academy over the course of 5 days that feel like 10, where we're just completely and utterly exhausted in the best of ways by the end of it.
Now, I want to get granular so everyone in the audience understands this, because see, I know what's going on there, but can you get even more in depth? So, and again, correct me, but I'm going to try to get you on the road here because I think you're not seeing some of the amazing things you're doing. You're inviting young people, generally 18, 25 years old, to travel to a small town in Indiana where they will be taken care of. They're being invited there. They're not paying, to my knowledge, they're not being charged.
That's right.
They are coming there and they are then going to meet, collaborate with, maybe be taught, maybe be mentored by some very famous Grammy Award, Emmy Award winning individuals like yourself, with the pure intent to help them grow. You are not getting a cut of it. You're not getting a percentage of whatever they get for the rest of their lives. You're doing this as a gift to them and their talent.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So please dig into, I mean, how many people are coming in? How do they find out? Give me a little more granular information on it, because I think that's where the beauty of what you're doing really starts to shine.
Yeah, specifically, there's a program for double bass players, which is my instrument, which is the pilot program, a program for pianists, concert pianists, and a program for all instrumentalists and vocalists all in one, that are not just geared towards one genre focus. They want to play jazz, classical, and bluegrass. They want to play funk. They want to play, some other style of music, but they come from a sophisticated foundation of musical understanding. We accept approximately for each program 10 people, and there's more than one curator for each program, as to take away the hierarchy of the learning experience. So you're not just looking kind of up to one seasoned professional that can guide you. They all have to audition. They get in based on the curation of the people that are called faculty mentors. And these faculty mentors funnel a very elite group of musicians that are ready and primed for this retreat at Honeywell Arts Academy, which takes place 3 weeks in June every summer, as we're going into our 18th summer. In addition to be full scholarship, we also now have an annual fellowship program for this sort of graduation level of the musicians that attended residence, where we've selected another kind of graduate elite level of musicians that will get that are getting actually currently mentorship, live performance, paid experiences, residencies, recorded assets, and project streamlined goals. Like for example, one of our cellists who came to residence happens to be in medical school at Stanford, but she also plays the cello, improvises, sings, writes her own songs. She just took a year off from medical school, actually her rotations, because she wants to put music where it's not. And she wants every doctor and nurse and everybody who comes to a hospital to do something when it comes to music making, to make the patient feel more comfortable, creating a more comfortable environment for the patients by and large. We have another group of musicians that are looking to expand their horizons. They are bluegrass, folk, jazz musicians, but they want to have a project with orchestra. So we're helping them to come up with their first concerto based on the Great Lakes. We have a singer-songwriter who's been in the music industry that really wants to break out and just be a musician, focus on being a musician. So we're helping him to record his assets and produce. And then we also have a pianist who plays jazz and plays both the piano and the drums at a virtuosic level, and trying to help him to facilitate what he's going to do with his next step. So those are, for example, like what we're doing with this annual fellowship. And it's a really cool thing to check out because one of the things that makes Honeywell Arts Academy so unique is the personalized approach, the fact that we only either have them come at full scholarship or pay them, and that they're extraordinary musicians, and there is absolutely no business split with any of them, whereas it really is just an award. It's a fellowship award as opposed to a signing.
It's phenomenal. Now, paid political announcement. How does somebody find out about it? Where do they go?
Oh, yeah, HoneywellArtsAcademy.org. That's simple. And if that we have this beautiful relationship with the Honeywell Foundation, and they are also located in Wabash. They're the ones that have been our stewards since the very beginning. And we find incredible loyalty and synergy and collaboration with them. And we're proud to be located in Wabash, Indiana, Northeast Indiana, and excited that we're taking this, to a national level.
I only have 2 questions for you. It's 3 years from now, Ranaan, Honeywell Center, Honeywell Arts Academy, time for 3. All of this is going well. I talk to you and you say, hey, it's been the best 3 years. What's happened? What's happened in those 3 years?
Well, if it's been the best 3 years, my family is doing great, because that's what means so much to me, as well as these other 2 things. Mm-hmm. But on a professional level, when it comes to time for 3, our mission is to spread joy to humanity. And I want to be doing that at a higher, much higher level. As far as the numbers that we're hitting, It's important. I feel like it's important to ask yourself these types of questions. And it comes back to wanting to bring people together in these safe environments. And I want to do that at a higher volume. When it comes to Honeywell Arts Academy, it's not necessarily about the volume of the people that attend, but it's about the impact that they have for everyone that they touch. So with Honeywell Arts Academy, we're creating the leaders, the musical leaders of tomorrow. And we're creating these leaders that have a mind that's open enough to spread and share this lack of hierarchy when it comes to the way that they're also teaching and inventing themselves. So like, for instance, that cellist, Melanie, in the healing arts, my imagination for her is something that's beyond something that I've ever been able to do. And that is the goal, because ultimately I'm not trying for these people not to surpass what it is they look up to. Right. It's the complete and polar opposite of that. I want them to look back and be like, wow, Ranaan was really good for me at that moment in my life, and look where I am now.
And you want them to pay it forward, just like your mentor said the same thing.
Absolutely.
So final question. You've talked a lot about others, your family. What is a best day for Ranaan Meyer? The day where you're just going, oh, it's been amazing. I love it. You're energized. What is that day? What happens?
I wake up and I have coffee with my wife. We sit and we talk on our deck for 30 to 45 minutes. Then we have breakfast as a family, and we laugh, we get serious, we teach each other, all of the above. I get to the base for about 45 minutes after that, because that's kind of my spirituality. Something opens up inside of my mind. I don't really have to work very hard with any other aspect of my life as long as I get to the music making. I'm not sure exactly why that is. It's probably studies on that. And then it's some sort of exercise followed by lunch. And then we're getting into the business of the day because things have to get done. But I look at that business in the same way that I look at everything other that exists in my life. It can't be separated out. It can't be a chore. It can't feel philosophically like it's now I have to go do that email. It's not about that. It's about approaching that with the same integrity of everything else. Actually, I will talk about the chair of our board right now at Honeywell Arts Academy, whose name is Dave Heiss. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I've learned from Dave Heiss. It doesn't matter if he's volunteering, if he's working on it with his career, his family, his friendships. I've noticed that this is a gentleman that does this, has the same approach philosophically with everything he does. So I look to people like that to inspire me, and hopefully I'll be able to inspire them in the same way. So it's a framework like that. I also want to say I'll be cooking on the grill at night for the family.
That makes it all worthwhile, doesn't it? Hey, Ranaan, you're fantastic. Your energy, your creativity is off the charts. I look at you as a tremendous individual. You're changing lives. You're making a difference with people all over the place. And those people will then make a difference because of you. So God bless you. And Ranaan, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's been a total pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Hey, this has been Difference Talks with the amazing Ranaan Meyer. This is Barry LeBove. Thank you, everybody. Remember, leaders differentiate.
Thank you for listening to Difference Talks, produced by the amazing team at LeBove. All original music on this podcast was created by LeBove.
Buy our book, The Power of Differentiation, on Amazon. Have a question for the Difference Talks team? Email us at differencetalks@lebove.com.